Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and this is Friday. It's March 13th. This will be our chart lesson for today. Another big trend, but it was all downhill today. There's a couple of different ways you could have seen this, and I kind of struggled with it, uh, which one I liked best first. I knew there was something going on along here, but generally your trend is going to be off those first two swings. And so I like, and what I think in the end is the blue channel is more of a shorter term one, and then the red one is a uh, bigger pattern that's in there as well. So no matter how you saw it, it really still played out very similar. Um, Now, of course, we had the break here and a couple legs down to a new low, but then we had the correction, and then we headed lower again. Um, I think it helped you to see the blue one, even if you were looking at the red one, because look how we turned down. Of course, you had the EMA still working in your favor there, uh, but you can see how even right here we came back. The midline here came into play, so it's reacting off of that line. And even though we weren't down to this low line here, it was enough. Prices got through it, but it was enough to turn it back and move it back up again. And then, of course, we got through this line here, but we'd already had the break and the new low and an overshoot over here. But notice how when it's working back down, that line is still coming into play. Look right there, right there. So I believe they're both valid. Um, I think if you saw them both, it helped. I think you could have gotten by with one or the other either way. Um, but I think they're both valid and they both helped you if you saw them both. And you can see right in here this midline, even though this midline on the bigger pattern was holding on the low side, this is what was holding it on the upper side, was this midline. You can see it playing off both sides down through there, and right in here and right here. And so didn't matter which way you saw it. It probably helped quite a bit if you saw both of them though. So I'm going to go ahead and back out where we can see it a little better, and we'll go over the trades, and then we'll move along. It's Friday. I want to wrap this up. But first trade I saw was a nice short here. We've basically been working down all through the overnight. Not a lot going on. Before I get started, let me say this. You do want to. I get a lot of questions about when do you want to roll over to the new contract. Well, today was the rollover day that I would use. Um, and I mentioned this because I've gotten several emails, but I was actually late coming in today. I didn't get started trading till uh, after 9:30, and so when I came in this morning, I wasn't paying attention to what I was doing, and I just opened up the regular March contract, and I posted that for our midday chart first. Um, Immediately after posting it, I realized, hey, there's not much volume here. I bet today the volume is on the new contract, which is the June contract, which is what this one is right here. And so I opened up the June, and of course, that's exactly what was going on. Most of your volume had moved over to the June contract. So I went ahead and posted the updated chart within a couple of minutes, but some of you are pretty quick, or maybe were already on the site. And so if you were a little bit confused, that was my fault, and I apologize. But generally, I switch contracts when the volume switches. I don't necessarily switch the first day. It's usually a day or two later before the volume will switch over. And you could have still traded today's contract. I went ahead and opened that chart, and you can see it looks very similar. Not as many bars, of course, but other than that, it looks fairly similar. You can see that. And so it didn't really change a whole lot other than maybe some of the numbers that I called out. So it's pretty much the same. But you want to be trading the contract where most of the volume's at. But I think the same trade's probably set up on this chart as the other one. So, if you traded this one today, it's not the end of the world. But you want to be in the contract where the volume's at. So, um, luckily, I have made that mistake before, just not switch over quick enough. But generally, what I'll do on rollover day is I'll go ahead and I'll open the new chart, and when I come in each morning, I'll flip back and forth, and I'll just look to see which one, see if the volume switched yet. And if not, I'll continue to trade the older contract. and I won't switch over to the new one until the volume actually switches. And as you can see, there's still sufficient volume to trade this contract, but it's not quite, there's not quite as much, as many bars and so forth. So the volume is definitely lowered on this one and increased on the other one. So just wanted to discuss. But again, here we are back at the other contract, and again, all the trades are probably very similar, and the chart looks very similar for the most part. So, but anyway, enough about that. I just did want to explain that though, and I apologize for the confusion this morning, but it probably wasn't 3 or 4 minutes after I posted it that I realized what I'd done and gone back and changed it. But some of you are quick or too quick for me, and there was actually a couple of comments on there about it too. But anyway, we're trading the June contract now, and that's the rule I use for switching over. When the notice comes out, go ahead and open the new chart. Continue trading the old chart until the volume switch over, and it's normally a day or two. It's usually not much more than a day or two. So um, hopefully that's helpful to you for those that have asked about it. But anyway, back to the trades. We were trending down. Wasn't much happening in the overnight until right at the open. And notice this new low, pull back, first entry, pull back, nice second entry short. I don't think you want to go. This is actually your signal bar. You don't want to go short there. But once this signal bar set up, that is a beautiful bearish signal bar. Just put your stop right below that, and when it broke lower, and it moved down pretty quickly. It did bounce quickly, and I was a little surprised to see it bounce right here. But that should have led me to look a little closer at the bigger trend line, um, or should have led you to, to look at this bigger trend line a little quicker. Because why is it bouncing here? There's a reason it's bouncing here and not coming all the way down. And if you notice that, you probably want to look at it. I had the benefit that since I came in later, I was able to see these two swings here, and that's what pushed me back to paying more attention to the blue one than I did the red one. But again, either way, um, you were in pretty good shape. There's no short here. You might have taken a long here based on this because this looks a little rangy and this looks like a failed break. So there's really, the only reason I didn't like this one is look, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bars stacked up side by side, a couple of dojis. But that's because you're finding support down here. But aggressive trader might go long there. If there was a little more room between the EMA, I probably would have circled it in green. But I think you're better off to wait because the trend is down. Look at the EMA point down. We're not back to the trend line or another possible trend line up here yet. So just sit tight and wait and look for a short. And you get a second entry up here. It's a little bitty tiny signal bar with a matching double top up there. But I like these kind of trades because you can get in it and you've only got about a 2 or 3 tick risk right there. Put your stop above that. And look, if you caught that one trade, you could have ridden this down all day long. I mean, that's the kind, those are the kind of trades you want to catch. And regardless of whether you were looking at it off the top of those two swings or like I did right there, it's still 2 legs up. It's a second entry short. It's a nice little low risk. It's a pullback that retests this double bottom here. And that's what you're looking to happen, and off it goes. And you actually could have taken a short right here. Notice how that ticked higher and then turned down. When this one turned back down and broke right below it, just go short right there. It's right off that shorter term trend line. There's still plenty of room to get out before you get down here. I like that one. And it took on off pretty quickly too. And what you're looking for right here, remember those measured moves? I would call that your first move down, and so you're looking for a measured move, and so that puts your measured move way down here. And we got really close before it bounced, but it just kept on going today. This was just a big sell-off day, and we took some of it back at the end of the day. But early on, this was weak, really weak, and And so this one's off the shorter term trend line. It's off of this trend line as well. It got back in and tested it. Notice how it shot through, pulled back and tested it. That's a good sign. Everything's below the EMA. Uh, Lots of reasons to like that trade. And then it pulls back again. Notice it had a little close outside, then it moved to a new high. And where does it turn down? Right there. It's a first entry, but because it was right off that trend line and we only had one leg down, um, I like that trade. And once you saw that one leg down, I would be looking for a second one. And that puts you, and look where that measures to, right to the low of that blue channel, if you saw that blue channel. Quick, easy move. You don't get any runners on this one, unfortunately. And this is not a great entry here because now you've got your break of a possible channel, two legs down, and one of them's a little short leg that bounced real quick that didn't go very far. So there's a chance you could get trapped right here, especially on a first entry, and there's no real break of that little trend line working up there. So there's reasons to like that trade, but there's reasons to be a little bit leery of it as well because it hasn't met all the rules. But in a strong downtrend, it's not uncommon that you don't get second entry. So, but if you saw that and took it, it was a great trade. I do think it's a little aggressive though. And then you get a two-legged pull back to the EMA, back to the midline. And notice how we overshot it a little bit like we overshot it up here. I wouldn't go short below the green signal bar, but when this red bar set up, you can't ignore that big bearish bar. Just go short right below it, and off it goes again. And the fact that it keeps overshooting is telling you something. It's telling you, hey, there's something else going on here. So if you didn't see the red one by now, you might should have been looking for it. But this was a nice second entry short with a big bearish bar. And then now you've got your break, couple legs down, you've way overshot it, you've overshot this, but now if you saw the red one, you've got to bounce off it. And it's not uncommon for it to try to push a little lower and trap some more people and then work up. And so from this point on, I would be looking for it to come back to here and probably come back to here. We don't quite get back there here. We shoot down and make a new low and then come back up. But I would have been leery of going short here until we had something, something else going on here. So, but I actually liked trying to sneak a long in right here. Notice this new low, and it doesn't go much further than that one. And then you get a higher low. That's notice the new low, pull back, first entry, pull back, and you get a second entry short there. It fails and bounces. You get a little possible break, but that's your first two. Your first two swings set the trend line. This kind of confirmed it. That's a bearish reversal bar. There's, if nothing else, you're looking for it to come back to here, but there's a good chance you ride it all the way back to here. So when you get this set up here, just take this to the long side and hope for the best. And you could have, and notice where it goes. It goes right up to the upper side of the trend line and turns right back down again. And you don't really get a long setup here, but you don't really want to go short. You do have a possible break and a new high, but I would wait on a trap here. And notice how it goes through the EMA. Pulls back and tests it. That's a second entry long as well, counting off that high, and it fails. And it went out the top of that little bar and then turned. I like going short right there. And, because you don't know that you don't just take off running to the downside again, because this thing has been really weak. It bounces though, and guess what? This comes back and confirms that trend line. Again, it's more like a first entry, but in a weak market, and it is a failed second entry long again. Pull back first entry, pull back second entry, and it fails instantly. Just go short right there. That's the only reason I like that short. Otherwise, I don't think I would have look for any more shorts after it's starting to bounce across here. There's actually some support across there, and it's kind of moved up a little bit. You can see that. So without that trap, I don't think I would go short there. It's a failed second entry long, but it's also, notice the low there, pull back first entry, pull back second entry. It's not a perfect signal bar, but it's close enough. and that got you into the 2 o'clock hour. So, I mean, it was pretty much all downhill until after the 2 o'clock hour, and then we rallied a little bit and took. It was just a tough, big sell-off, so we took some of it back, maybe almost half of it looks like. So, um, but yeah, I think there's two different channels going on here. I think you got your bigger one, you've got a smaller one inside, and then of course you got your other smaller one, trend lines and trend channels. There's actually another one right here, and notice how they played out. You got this one working down, you got your break, new low, then you got this one working down, your break, your new low. There's actually another one right here at the end. And I usually like, when I'm trading, I usually like to draw all of these and notice the close outside, a couple of legs down, and then it reverses. And another thing to notice is that once we had the break here and the new low, you had a correction that lasted. This thing started correcting at about 10:51, and it lasted, I would say it ended right here on this green bar at 12:06. So you had a little, almost an hour and a half of a correction there. So you could get a whole new trend that starts over there. And so draw your trend channel and trend lines on that, and pay attention to it. So it looks like really by that point the red channel is not really in play much anymore. So um, I really like the bluer one. My gut instinct said stay with that first two swings there, and so that's what I tried to do. Um, you can't argue with a red one because it looks. I mean, it's in play and it looks valid till right here, and then from that point on, it doesn't really come into play that much again. So it just depends on how you're looking at it, really. But if you saw the blue one, it's in play. We're overshooting it here, but you can tell even as we're overshooting it, look how the bar closes inside it. Look how it closes outside it, above it, below it. It's still acting, it's still coming into play. So, um, but that's what I saw today. I'm not going to beat around the bush. It's Friday. I'm ready to wrap it up and get out of here. I hope you have a great weekend. I hope you've had a good trading week. We'll be back again to do it next week, and hopefully we'll get some more good movement. It got kind of stale there for a week or so, but it seems to be a week or two. But last couple of trading days, it's picked up pretty well. So let's hope that continues. But anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. This is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.